You are now listening to You Heard. On today's episode of You Heard, we are joined by the beautiful, amazing Bianca Santini Dumas, who, like me, is accepting that patience is a part of the process and is still defining herself as a human being so she can honor and hold space for herself. Isn't that a powerful journey and feat? Today, we're going to jump into what support looks like for ourselves, for others, how we show up in our intentional work, so things that we do in regards to full moons, new moons, me time, etc. And some of the things that we learned from our intentional support work and trying to show up for ourselves and show up for our loved ones. Welcome, Bianca. I am super excited to have you here. As always, I love sharing space with you, and I'm super excited to share you with the You Heard community.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's so cool to be here.
We're going to be super giggly. I'm going to give a heads up to the audience because that's just who we are. I think Bianca and I just talk to a lot more than our personal selves. We talk to each other's souls and all of the different versions of us and all of the different dimensions that are out there. So we make each other laugh because, you know, when life comes at you, you kind of have to laugh at it because it'd be crazy sometimes.
Right. I think that there's just a deeper understanding. So the giggling comes from inside jokes of past lives.
Yes. And our inner children speaking to each other. And I'm here for it and I love it. So I'm happy that we're doing this topic, mainly because I feel like for the past 4 years, no, lies, because you and I really kind of like connected on a different level after I graduated from college. So like 5 years, it's been a good 5 years where you and I have been a support to each other in our own like respective growth and the goals that we've been trying to achieve in X, Y, and Z field. We have been support to each other as women, as business entrepreneurs, as mothers now. So I feel like you're a really great person to talk to about this in regards to like how we've supported each other, but also speaking about like how we support ourselves. And I know that you and I kind of spoke about speaking life into each other and to our respective individuals, and like how important that is. So if you wouldn't mind kind of speaking a little bit about how you have been showing up for yourself lately and maybe how that is different than how you used to show up for yourself in the past.
So the biggest way I've been showing up for myself lately is not making excuses. Not making excuses and also not allowing other people's perception of what I'm doing to be an excuse.
I got you.
I feel like I would hesitate to do things or not follow through on the things that my heart was calling me to, and that reason would show me was okay, but because of what I thought other people might think or what I felt like my support system might not agree with, I wouldn't go for it, or I wouldn't fully put my effort into something because I didn't want to offend, or I didn't want to not have that support continue to be there for me. And I feel like 2020 really, revealed a lot of things, including the fact that my support system's there and it's not going anywhere. So I might as well be the full, authentic version of me.
Yeah. And I definitely feel that in, I feel like so many of my episodes, and I've had this conversation so many times, of like COVID clarity, of how the pandemic and how everything went down really shifted everything for everybody, but gave a lot of people the opportunity to really reevaluate themselves, reevaluate the people that they surround themselves with, the people who support them, because it was a trying time for everybody, whether you come from money or not. Like, we were all going through it in some which way, shape, or form, just because of how the world shut down. And we were faced with dying, or a loved one dying, and it was really who showed up during this very traumatic time for the whole world,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of spoke volumes to us. But then also showing up for yourself in this time where you had a lot of free time to be in your thoughts. And for some
Mm-hmm.
people that's a lot, some people that's scary, and for other people they thrive off of that shit. And I think even for myself, I can definitely attest to what this past year has given me is it further solidified kind of my backbone, my foundation, my tribe, my community, and who those people are and why they are so important,
Mm-hmm.
and how they contribute to a lot more than just kind of like celebrating me as an individual and everything that I come with, both the good, bad, and the ugly, because I know I could be batshit crazy. But they love me through it. Like, they allow me to be my most fullest self and don't judge me for that.
Yeah.
And like you, I think just because of the kind of people that we're go-getters. We very much care about the image and the way in which we're portrayed, and especially how we're seen.
Mm-hmm.
That we can be pretty calculated with how we move, because we don't want to lose that support. And I think some of that is also rooted in our own respective childhoods, in similarities that we may have.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to like support and who is around and who heard us. And I know that both you and I, like, we want to be heard, and we want to be heard clearly. And we
Mm-hmm.
have no problem speaking our mind. And we'll kind of go to extremes to make sure that we're fully understood. But I think in time, both you and I have learned that there are people who are committed to not understanding us,
Yes.
but also don't understand themselves enough to fully wrap their heads around our own self-awareness.
Right.
Like, I think in this time, to kind of like answer the question that I asked you of like, how have I, been showing up for myself and kind of holding myself accountable, is I'm being more open to having compassion for myself and others, and understanding that when I come out of my face, it's me projecting something that triggered me or
Mm-hmm.
that is rooted in something that is unhealed. And in the same way that I recognize that in myself, I recognize that in other people. And we all have our angels and demons that are within us, and accepting that, not just that duality, but that complexity of us as human beings, as beings that are tied to more than just this plane. Especially you and I, who spend a lot of time and work to be both attached to this earth, but disconnected from the bullshit that happens on
Right.
this planet. um so I very much feel that in like the people that you surround yourself by, and how that is important in the way in which that you see yourself, and kind of like us as individuals policing the way that we may speak or what we may share, because we're worried about losing that love. But it comes back to that the people who are really there to like ride or die with us, and see us through, our growth, and when we make mistakes and when we're right but they don't want to admit that we're right, they're always going to be there, and it's just a matter of trusting the investment that those people have in you, and
Mm-hmm.
just, if you continue showing up for yourself, then all they can do is show up for you as well.
Exactly. I think I'm finally at that point, and I say finally as if there is a final, but
Mm,
I'm at that point where I feel like I have been properly equipped. I have the resources, I have the connections, I have the team, I have the ability to do what I want to do and also do what I need to do to get there.
mm-hmm.
And now it's at the point where I don't feel like I'm limited anymore. I don't feel like I have to hide anything. And I say that because I realized it wasn't necessarily that I was trying to be like sneaky about anything I was doing. It was more so like I wasn't ready. I wasn't
Yeah.
ready to really show everything that I have to offer. And I feel like I hit a point where I wanted to just do everything. And I tried doing everything instead of taking a step back and really being patient with myself, really giving myself the time to develop my own lane instead of being what everybody else want, because I think I take it so seriously when people invest in me. I take it so seriously when people give me feedback about myself, because I do want to make them proud.
Yeah.
I do want them to feel good about, spending time with me or mentoring me or trying to show me, the lessons that life had given them. But it took me up until this point to realize I don't have to do exactly what everybody else tells me to do. I don't
Yes.
I don't have to stay in the box that they've put me in. I don't have to remain there. And when I do pop out and when I do get in my own lane, that's what's going to make them the most proud one day. And maybe they can't see it quite yet. But I'm learning as time progresses, and, even in the past couple months, that when I'm just myself and I'm doing that, I'm not doing anything wrong. There's nothing, I'm not being bad. I'm not in a position where I now need to be punished because I'm not doing exactly what someone else expects me to do. And understanding that line and understanding that I don't have to do what someone else wants me to do gave me the time that I have been begging for. It gave me the space that I was praying for. And accepting that it was more of a mental block made me feel silly at points. Like, wow, why didn't we could have done this years ago if I had just understood that. But when you're younger, or when you're in a position where you are leaning on different people for support, or depending on different people for support in order to essentially survive, it doesn't seem or feel or appear that way at all.
Right.
And it might seem silly down the line. It might be something to laugh at down the line. But in the moment, when you are in a dependent position, it's not silly. It doesn't feel or look like that. It's kind of like you're trapped by the obligation and responsibility that comes with honoring those who have invested in you.
Yeah. I think even going as far, because I understand that like idea of like feeling silly. I think when I look back at my own like codependencies and dependencies and the quote unquote stupid little things that I would do, that now I look at it, I'm like, why the hell did I do that in the first place?
Right.
Instead of like seeing at it and seeing it as silly, I get really mad at myself. Like, how can I be so malicious or manipulative or dumb or allow that to happen to me?
Yes.
And I think at this point of my life, and in a lot of the conversations that I have with myself, and the intentional work that I try to do to like further understand who I am, what my triggers are, what my demons are, and like befriend them rather than try to run away from them. I think a lot of it just boils down to like understanding that where you were at that point in time in making the decision that you made, you didn't notice you had the tools or know how to use the tools or had the courage to use the tools to make a different decision. And like you have to forgive yourself for making the decision that you're not okay with making now, and that was you then and it's not you now, and you know how to move differently now so you don't resort to making X, Y, and Z decision that you weren't necessarily proud of. And instead of just being like, oh, I hate that version of myself, or that version of myself is childish, or that version of myself is immature, or that version of myself makes me angry, it's like that version of myself existed for a reason. Here are the reasons why. And like this is what I do with myself. It's hard. It's so fucking hard to like forgive myself, because I feel like there's so many things that I did that were so fucked up towards other people as well as to myself, that it's like, damn, Natalia, like how could you be that way towards others and towards yourself? But at the same time, it's like I need to kind of just breathe and take a step back and understand like where I was mentally, emotionally, why I was the way that I was in those points in time. And understand that I was just in a completely different place. And that's what I thought I needed to do, or
Right.
needed to stomach and experience in order for to survive, or to
Right.
what I thought was feeling at peace with myself or feeling at peace with others. Now that I have learned more and have become more in tune with myself, because I really think that's what it is. I feel like that knowledge and that intuition was always there, but it's a matter of like, at what point did you start listening to yourself and you stopped letting other influences play a role in how you were going to move and act. So once I took more time to really listen to myself and ask myself those hard questions and look myself in the mirror, really was when I was able to be like, okay, like this version of Natalia who made these kinds of decisions existed for X, Y, and Z reason, and like find the root of it. And once I'm able to kind of explain why I did X, Y, and Z to somebody else or to myself, I feel a bit more at ease, because it's like, well, now I understand that version of me, and I can't hate myself for that version of me existing, because it existed for X, Y, and Z reason. Like there was a purpose. Like I wasn't just out here just fucking freeballing it and like not giving a shit. It's like, no, I actually gave a
And
shit.
we
And like,
can't underestimate the fact that you're here now. We
yeah.
can't underestimate like the fact that that version of you led you to where you are now, and where
Mm,
you have those experiences in your back pocket where you can say, hey, I was an asshole too. This is how I know you're being an asshole. Here's how I can help you not be an asshole. So that way you can start to help influence the next generation to not make the
yes.
same mistakes in terms of having regret for the way that they were acting. You can't protect anyone from the lessons they're going to learn. You can't protect
Mm,
anyone, or you can't shield them. However, the work you're doing now is providing those tools, is providing some language, is providing some context, so that people can say, oh wow, maybe I shouldn't have lashed out at that person that way. I don't want to regret that down the line. I don't want to look back and and be angry at myself for this version of me now. Maybe I should practice more patience at this point in my life, because eventually, somebody will listen to this podcast, and it'll go on and on and on, and hopefully somebody doesn't take the same path. But at the same time, you can't stop it. You can't stop
right.
the cycles and the different archetypes that we meet along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great segue into, we're talking about how we are showing up for ourselves and some of the revelations that we've had in doing so. But like, how are we showing up for others?
Mm-hmm.
And like, in turn, our ability to show up for ourselves creates an example and helps build tools and vocabulary, like you said, in words, to be able to pass down to the next generation or even the generation before us. I know a lot of
Oh,
my,
yes.
yeah, like a lot of my respective work that I try to do on myself and loving myself more and healing and so on and so forth. I try to bring back specifically to my mom. And kind of where she is and where I know she wants to go, because that's what she has shared with me,
Mm,
and my experience in trying to get there myself and being like, hey, here's what I've been doing. It may not work for you. I'm still struggling with it, but it may be a kind of like what you said, like a lane, like creating a lane for
yeah.
yourself. Like this may be the lane for you that works, and do what you need to do.
That's
But
beautiful. That's beautiful that she even feels comfortable sharing that with you. And share. I feel like that's sometimes what happens with that with mothers in general. You know, I want to do generalize that. Um, and maybe even parents in general is just acknowledging to their children that they don't have it all figured out, and
yes.
they're still developing their own path, and they're still trying to figure out what the next step in their journey is going to be. And some, you know, some have their plan, and some have some stuff laid out for them. But I think especially our mothers admitting to their daughter, hey, you know, I don't know everything. Can you help me out? Can you help
Yeah.
me out with this emotional baggage? Or can you help me find a therapist? Or, hey, can you know, that kind of a conversation is sacred. And it's something that I feel like I'm seeing more and more. I feel like, but you know, that could just be because of the people I'm surrounded by, and I feel really
Yeah.
blessed by that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely chose correctly, but I also know that's something that you do practice with your own son. And I've
Mhm.
always been extremely inspired by and just like get all warm and fuzzy thinking about
Mhm.
the way in which that you communicate with your son, because you very much allow him to have space to feel, but you are very clear in letting him know, like, things aren't perfect with me. Like, this is who I am, and
Mhm.
sometimes things are going to work out and sometimes they're not going to work out. And what matters is how we're going to move on from that respective situation. Like, how are we
Mhm.
going to react? And I think you do such an amazing job giving your son space that I think a lot of generations just never had coming from their
Mhm.
parents. That
And
it was
I gotta tell you, it's hard being here.
mm,
It's hard even doing that, because that's one of the things that I had to finally learn. I'm doing the best I can with what I have.
yeah.
And I'm trying with all my might. You know, I read what I can, I take in different resources, but ultimately it comes down to, you know, what's right for my child in the moment. And
Mm,
you know, because some parents have the mindset of, you know, they don't talk to their kids at all, they don't have any kind of discussions with them. Some you know, try to keep them in the dark, or like want the, you know, everybody has their different theories and different
yeah.
ways of how they're going to rear their children. um and I know that the way that I speak to Ronan, and the way that I engage with him in terms of letting him sit with his thoughts, and having conversation with him, is not what some of the generations before did. You know, there were punishment in different ways. It wasn't always a conversation. It's never a negotiation.
Right.
Um, so it's hard sometimes being in that position where it's a new way of doing things, and
Mm-hmm.
being met with resistance, and how I would like to have my son feel about his life and feel about his person,
Yeah.
in terms of being able to like have his own understanding that like he has a choice in different things, and if it doesn't feel good, I want him to trust that.
Yeah. I think you kind of alluded to people also supporting you in supporting your son.
Mm-hmm.
And like at the end of the day, what we're talking about in this episode is like support is important. Your self-support, support from others,
Mm-hmm.
because it just helps things run smoothly. Even when things hit the fan, when you're able to have somebody to fall back on to kind
Mm-hmm.
of affirm you and reassure you, it helps that process of getting back on your feet happen
Mm-hmm.
a lot quicker. Um and just gives you like a different perspective. And because like what you just said, your approach with your son is something that's relatively new, at least in our respective communities.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some communities that have done that before and resulted in whatever it may be, but in our kinds of communities, where you are from in Philly, where I'm from in New York, people don't do that. Parents don't got time to give their kids choices and hear them out and hear their feelings. They don't even listen to their own damn feelings, let alone their kids.
Right.
So it's like, wait, why are you asking your son what he wants?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are you doing this? Like, no, you're like, I hear it. You're the mom. You make the decisions. And like, that has its own issues in the future when he is an adult and trying to make decisions for himself. And
exactly,
like, it's important to understand that everybody parents differently, respect that, and see it through. Unless it is something that's toxic, there's no other reason to need to intervene or give your 2 cents on how a mom, a dad, or whatever guardian it may be is trying to rear that child in being able to see themselves. Like, there shouldn't be anything wrong with that. It's you showing up for your son, and that support is going to go a long way, because he'll learn how to support himself, and then be able to reciprocate that to other people as well, and understand what healthy support looks like. Because I think for both you and I, we have had experiences where we were being supported by the wrong people. And it wasn't necessarily support. It was more of like draining our respective support. And we thought that, I don't know, their energy or whatever we thought they were bringing to the table was really draining us rather than feeding us. And
because we tend to project the good onto others, and the bad onto ourselves, like as if it's like the people in our lives are angels, and like somehow we're the ones who need the like saving, instead of
we're not
recognizing,
worthy.
like, we usually are the ones who are speaking light into and bringing the light out of other people.
Yes, that's that's such a good way of putting it. I think in a lot of my intentional work, when I do like my rituals around the house, and I'm taking time to just center myself, or even just like saging the house, cleaning the house, whatever it may be, I always have come to like these couple of words and a saying of, this space and who I am is a source of protection, is a source of love, and is a source of light. And I in the past couple of months, especially through the podcast and all of the amazing conversations that I have with people, I'm further recognizing how much of a light I am, and I'm stepping into that, and I'm owning the power that I was like put into this world having, rather than looking at the light of somebody else and feeling like I need to follow that, then recognizing my own light. Like you sent me a meme or something along the lines of like, stop looking for the answers on social media and like speak to yourself, or like find the answers within you. And I answered you back. I was like, well, why don't you just punch me in the face? Because it was so true. Because there have been so many times where it's like, I'm feeling something. What am I feeling right now? And instead of like sitting in, like trying to understand what I am feeling within myself and my own intuition, I'll go on social media and be like, well, what's everybody saying about the universe and the energy right now? Oh, that makes sense. That's what I'm feeling. Why can't I check in fully with myself? Like, why do I need somebody else's version of this intuition or light to validate what I'm hearing? Why am I not comfortable enough fully checking in with myself and trusting what I have to say and what I'm hearing?
That's how I even started reading cards. I noticed myself doing that, and I was like, that is not healthy.
Right.
I was like, that is not healthy. I'm going on here checking for the card of the day, and the reader I would follow, I will shout her out, Tatiana Tarot.
Yes.
I would watch her cards. I would look for her stuff daily, because, that's who I was looking up to. That was the main reader who resonated with me. So I would go and look for it. And then I think something happened, and she was like taking a break or something. And I was like, oh my gosh, how has she not posted any cards? And I'm freaking out on my end. And I'm like, whoa, that's not okay. These are the boundaries that I'm learning about. These are the points that I'm starting to understand where I need to start checking in with myself. And that's how I even got my first deck, because I was like, I can't be out here depending on someone else to tell me what the cosmic weather is. Like, I need to understand how to check in and meditate and really reflect on my own. I think she would post it like it was like a tarot meditation for the day. Like, I had to start learning how to do that for myself. And I used tarot as a tool, but it was more so taking back and reclaiming my own ability to self-regulate, I guess, in terms of my mind racing and going to a different platform to get answers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's such a good way of putting it because, not everybody uses tarot cards and wants
Mm-hmm.
to look to what's Mercury doing today, and that's perfectly fine. But the moral of the story is like being able to sit with yourself
Mm-hmm.
and figure out what your mind, your body, and your spirit is trying to tell you. And doing that without distracting yourself, without, I need to watch TV, I need to be on social media, I need to keep myself busy. It's like, what are you doing with the times where your inner self is trying to talk to you? Your spirit, your energy is trying to talk to you and be like, hey, Natalia, or whatever your name is. Hey, like, ding, ding, ding. I'm trying to get you to understand something. I'm trying to get you to see something. I'm trying to get you to feel something. And allowing yourself to step into that. Because we all have that, regardless of what you believe in, regardless of what you follow. We all have this energy, this knowledge, this intuition within us, and we have to create space to trust that and to hear that and to interact with it, because that's really when you're able to know yourself and to show up for yourself as an individual. Because when you don't do that shit, you end up stressed, you end up sick, because you're ignoring
Yes.
yourself. You're ignoring yourself. And I know so many people, including you and I'm sure tons of people in our community and the people that we've surrounded ourselves with, we're so quick to give so much of ourselves to other people and
Right.
to check in on other people and to show up for other people. And in doing that, we are fully ignoring ourselves. We have to have balance. Yes, show up for all the people that you love. That's awesome. That's great. But you better make sure that you're showing up for yourself as well, because at some point you're depleted and you're empty and you're like, well, who the fuck am I? And
Yeah.
then we're talking about like midlife crises and, feelings, starting to have feelings of depression and anxiety, because at the end of the day, you don't know who you're sitting with when, you're by yourself in a dark room or just a room in general.
Right. Yeah, because being that person that everybody leans on, but then you can't lean on any of those people, becomes a really bad path very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And constantly reaching out and constantly exerting energy, and then turning inward becomes, like you said, it's like you don't know who you are, and it's like you're meeting a stranger because of constantly connecting with others. So then being able to regroup and saying no or asserting boundaries becomes such a difficult task, when it shouldn't be. When it should be from the jump that you already know what your limits are, so that you're not overexerting yourself and getting to the point of exhaustion or burning out.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think there is a better way to put that, because I'm thinking of the people in my life that I know that are like that, give so much of themselves to
Mm-hmm.
other people and just never choose themselves. And it breaks my heart, because I want them to choose themselves, because they are such beautiful people. But I also know what it's like to be in their shoes. And, one day I woke up and I was like, I need to choose myself. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. It's not like it's something that happened overnight. But it takes time to continue to carve out space for yourself, especially after spending so many years of making space for other people. Like, think of a field that you're growing crops, but
Mm-hmm.
you're growing all these crops to feed everybody else. And you have created no space in this crop field to feed yourself. And now you have to start, if you really want to commit to yourself, you have to start cutting some crop space off of other people in order to create space for yourself to feed yourself. Like,
Right.
if we have to put a visual to it, let's think of it like that. Like, you need to create
Yeah.
space for yourself, because you have to feed yourself. You have to nourish yourself with time, with energy, with care, with compassion. Because at the end of the day, you got you. Like, you're
Yeah.
you're the first person you got. You got to take care of you.
I feel like the past couple years has been a very slow progression of establishing that column. See, because I'm taking that visual
Mm.
you're giving me and I'm picturing rows, right? And
Mm-hmm.
what I imagined just now was taking a column of those rows and saying, this is mine.
Right.
If this is my field, these crops are mine. And I think that establishing that column rubbed some people wrong, created a little bit of tension with others. Some people left. But ultimately, I feel so much better after establishing that column to even continue fostering like this fertile, place where people can continue to eat off of.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm gonna leave it at that, just because that was just some real powerful shit. We're coming towards the end of the episode, and I know that both you and I spoke about speaking life into each other, because that is how you and I support each other. We may not speak every single day, but when we do speak, we make the effort to just further love, embrace, romanticize, and swoon each other, because we care about each other's well-being. So I do want to carve out some time to speak some life into you, and then you'll be able to do the same. I want to leave this space with you taking away and fully knowing and standing in all of the power and magic I know you have, and you have always had, and will continue to have. And I hope that there is never a day that you doubt how amazing you are and how much you bring to the table. As I like to say, you're more than just bringing to the table. You're the table, the chairs, the dining set, the plates, the forks, the knives, the meal, like all 8 courses. You're it all. And there is nothing that you are lacking. And never let anyone or any experience make you feel like there is something that is missing from this table and everything that it is expected to have. You meet and exceed the expectations of so many people. And you need to mirror that in yourself when you see yourself, and see how full and abundant and overly abundant in many ways you really are. Every time I think about you, I see you as someone who is literally, your energy is jumping outside of yourself. Like, that is how full you are. And I want you to take that visual and sit on it and see yourself as a whole. I know you've been doing a lot of wake up and move work in front of the mirror. I see you. I see what you're doing. When you're looking at yourself and you're seeing your body and you're seeing your form as you're moving, also see the energy that is radiating outside of you, because that's the energy that really reaches the people that you love, and that's the reason why they continue to support you, and that's the energy you need to keep feeding.
Ooh. Wow. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
So I want to let you know, your voice is so powerful, and I need you to never stop speaking. I need you to continue speaking life, not only into me, but into the people around you. Because the fact of the matter is, you initiate change. And I always say that you're the Aries of my life, because you really are that first person to stand up, to say something, to speak towards and speak against injustice, to make sure everyone feels included, and to do it in such a way that is so eloquent and so elegant and so concise that no one else can ever do it like you. So if you ever feel moments where you're not your full, authentic lioness self, remember this. And I hope that you come back to this and continue to affirm that for yourself. You may have become a mother after me, but somehow, some way, I'm learning so much from you. I'm learning so much about the patience that comes with it. I'm learning so much about how to still be myself while being a mother, and you lead by example every single day. You are the person who hits the numbers before the numbers are even on the table. You are the person who starts to create a different level of expectation of greatness. And I don't know where I'd be without you, honestly. I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for continuing to be that example. I want to say thank you for creating this platform, for taking the ideas that you had and following through on them. I want to say thank you for being so strong and showing everyone that you really can have it all. And I don't know if you feel like that. I'm sure there's moments where you're like, what is going on here? And you admit and you speak on how not perfect you are. But it's not about perfection. It's about the fact that you show up every single day. You show up every single day for yourself, for your partner, for your daughter, for your family. You are not shy about anything. And that authenticity lives through you, and it lives, and it's going to continue living on for generations. You're creating a legacy, and you're so inspiring. And I'm just happy to be able to have this kind of conversation with you. I appreciate you because you're real. I appreciate you because you don't try to hide, and you make sure that anyone around you continues to step into their light. You never, ever, ever complain. You never, ever, ever try to show that you're trying to step on anybody else's thing. You always maintain your lane, and you show everybody else, here's where yours is. Here's how I can support you in yours. You put everybody above yourself. And yet at the same time, here you are, show an example of how you put yourself first sometimes too. So thank you.
You got me all emotional. Thank you. I don't know what to say to that outside of like, people who are listening, this is how you need to treat your friends. Like this is what love is. This is what healthy relationships look like. It's not weird. It's not uncomfortable.
Right.
You know, it's you. If you want to make it uncomfortable, like that's on you and that's your own perception. But being able to talk this way to the people that you love and to the people that you care about and to the people who have supported you through thick and thin and have seen both your light and your dark. This is how you do it. This is just an example. And
I'm gonna be honest, it's not the greatest example. I feel like our voice notes are better. But
ooh, our voice notes are a whole other thing. If these things existed and it was like there was a way to like download them, or God. If we could go back through all 5 years of me and you conversing and like take every text message we have ever sent to each other and like lace them together, it would be a beautiful book. It would be like a New York best like time seller, whatever you want to call it. We would have Nobel Peace Prizes, like so know that these conversations happen a lot more than just here on this podcast and in this space. Again, yes, you and I do not talk all the time, but when we do talk, it is very much this. It is this energy. It is, I'm going to show up for you. And as in a part of showing up for you, I'm also going to show up for myself, because I know that both you and I heavily inspire each other to show up for our own selves, because we suck at it.
We're both like, girl, if you don't shut up about that, you don't be your best self. And it's like, okay, you're right. Like,
yes. I'm so thankful for you. I'm so thankful for this space that we continue to create. And, every single day is one step closer to you and I doing some badass shit with each other. And this is just one of the many steps. And I look forward to sharing this with the You Heard community and you sharing it with your community. I love you. Thank you for your time and your energy and your love and your endless support.
You are now listening to You Heard.